Welcome once again to the Clear Skies Retirement Podcast with Jay Kirkwood of Secure Financial Management. My name is Randy Cook. It's a time of year, actually, where we've just come through tax season, and people are thinking about their money. You know, they start to take a look at their taxes, and they go, well, I had to pay this year. I hope I don't have to do that for the rest of my life.
I'm paying how much?
Yeah, exactly. I'm writing a check for what? And so this is the time of year when you start to think about, years, not just April 15th this year, but all the April 15ths to come. And that's what we want to talk about today, because all the April 15ths to come for 20 to 25 years is what we call retirement. And there's a lot of things that can get in the way. So I'm going to point us to an article that I found in Market Watch right now, and they have the 5 big things that you have to plan around in your retirement. This is where you turn it over to Jay, and he's got to handle all this. Longevity, living a long time, your health, markets, your family, things that happen in your family, and policy risk, things that change within the politics of all that goes on there. So let's kind of take these one at a time here. My grandmother lived to age 91. My mom is still around. She's 86. The men in our family don't live a long time, but boy, the women do, let me tell you. So talk to me about that. You walk in and somebody, and you look at them and say, well, how long do you think you're going to need this money? How long are you going to live? Nobody can answer that question, can they?
Nobody can, but so it's on the women's side, right, Randy?
It is. It's on the women's side.
Too funny.
The men die in their 60s and early 70s, and that's not a good sign for me.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. But the longevity risk, it's a real risk depending on how your plan is set up.
Okay.
It really is, right? So we talk about how people don't like paying into Social Security. I see that line item come out on my paycheck, as you do as well, right?
FICA. What's a FICA?
FICA. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
Who's FICA and why are they taking my money?
There's an age that people start to change their opinion on Social Security. Do you know what age that is? It's right around 62.
Right about the time they can take it.
Yeah, right around the time that they can take it. It's like, this isn't so bad, the Social Security thing, right? Yeah, yeah. And it's a couple things. It's the accumulation of, I've paid into this for so long, and now I'm going to get my return on this investment. And it's, hey, this is guaranteed. I don't have to worry about this. I've seen my 401k go up and down, and I contribute to it, and it's growing. But in 2008, it halved in value, and I was pulling my hair out. March of 2020, when COVID hit, it went down 20 or 30%, and I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to retire, if it was going to come back. And I don't know if I can handle that volatility in retirement. So Social Security was a pretty good deal at that point, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah, every month it comes in.
And then people look at Social Security and they say, well, man, I wish it was a bit more. I wish I had some more income that wasn't tied to the markets and was guaranteed. And that's what gets people out of that longevity concern, right? Is if we can find a way to say it doesn't matter how long you live, go to 100. We have X amount of dollars that will live as long as you do.
Okay. It's that guaranteed income that we talk about here on the show an awful lot. So as long as the paycheck's coming in, that fear of running out of money is a little less, I guess. In
retirement, you're always going to have a little bit of concern, I think, about money, right? It's just we've changed from work life to retirement life. We've changed from contributing to our assets to now drawing down on them. But if you can mitigate all or some of that with guaranteed income that isn't tied to the markets, will live as long as you do, it's great. I'll tell you a story about a guy that I saw really, really win at the guaranteed income game. Okay. We had a client who retired, I think she retired 2 years ago. And she was fortunate enough to have a pension, 401k, Social Security, all this stuff. Real good retirement she's set up for. Her dad, she's 60, so dad, is considerably older. I didn't know how old. I'll tell you in just a second. And he had pensions through his old employer. Didn't really have a whole lot of wealth to invest, but had very high guaranteed incomes coming in, Social Security, pensions, and so forth. And he came in to the meeting with our client, and she was just dropping off some checks and signing some paperwork. And he sat down, and I said hi to him, and he said, "Oh, sorry, I don't really hear that well out of my left ear." And I just repeated, I said, "Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you." And I was thinking 83, 84, something of that nature. And we got done with the meeting, and one of my advisors came in and just said, "Hey, did you see her dad?" I was like, yeah. She's like, "He's 103.
Get out.
103.
Wow.
Walked in, no walker, no cane. I was like, that's it? You can't hear that well out of your left ear? I was like, that's me now. That guy won.
Wow.
That guy won at the Social Security and the pension and the guaranteed income game, right? And you know what? He doesn't have any, maybe that's why he made it to 103. I don't know. He doesn't have any worries.
You're right.
He's got his income coming in no matter what.
Well, that's interesting. If you had two people and one had $1 million saved in liquid, and then you had another person who had $100,000 saved, but they had a pension at $5,000 a month, who would you rather be? And I think I'd rather be the pension guy.
Well, I can also grow my 100,000 because I don't have to worry about the risk I'm accepting.
Well,
okay,
all right.
As well. So
there's ups and downs on both sides.
So can I grow that 100,000?
Yeah.
Can I get more aggressive with it because I've got all of my guaranteed income coming in?
Okay.
Yeah. Can I take that much risk with my $1 million? I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because I've got to generate income every single month off of that, right? So the longevity, it's becoming more of an issue, right? Because life expectancy wasn't this long, right? You know, back when Social Security first started.
Sure. And
this sounds funny, but I'm pretty sure that we're close to the numbers here. Social Security started at 65 and life expectancy was 63.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, if you got a couple of years out of it, you were doing real well, right? Now, life expectancy is something in the early 80s, I believe.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. 78 for men, 83 for women, something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So that brings us to the next part in this, the big 5 retirement risks, and that's health. Because we can live for a very long time, but my mom right now is in memory care, and she's been there for coming up on 3 years. So that happens too. I heard somebody, this is an interesting way to describe it, that spending in retirement is kind of like a smile. At the beginning, it's up in the corner, and you spend a lot because there's all the sorts of things you want to do in retirement. You go on your cruises, you do all your stuff, and you get it done. Then you kind of cruise for a little while, and then the spending goes back up again when the healthcare issues start. So
Correct.
One of the things that someone might say to you when you are in the meeting is, what if I get sick? So let's talk through some of that.
Absolutely. So, Randy, we call that in our planning process, we call it stair-stepping the income.
Okay.
Okay. So we might start a client off on X amount of income a month, and we'll say, this is not sustainable for your whole retirement. But is it fair to say that between 60 and 65 or 65 and 70, whatever it is, you're going to do more, let's just call it travel. You're going to do more traveling then than when you're 80. Well, of course, the answer is yes, right?
Sure.
It doesn't mean we're not going to do anything, but it's not going to be the same clip.
You're going to slow down a little bit.
So that's an accurate description because that's exactly how we plan for it as well, right? And health risk is one of those risks that we do our best for planning for, right? We make sure that we're looking at kind of what kind of Medicare supplement policies do our clients have. We have an in-house Medicare expert that reviews those policies, the prescriptions, the Part Ds, to make sure that that number one threat to wealth at any age almost really is being handled as best as possible.
So when we talk about that spending too, you may have your house paid off, your car's paid off, and most of what you spend your money on is travel and fun and daily bills that you have to pay. As you get toward your latter years when the healthcare spending starts, it can get extreme. My mom right now, $7,400 a month. And that's low, actually, from memory care. It could be $10,000, it could be $12,000 a month. All of a sudden, there's money going out like crazy at the end. And if you don't have some kind of preparation for that, you're writing that right out of your retirement accounts.
Absolutely.
And that's something that can cause somebody to run out of money.
It absolutely can. And I won't get this statistic exactly right, but it's something like people spend 60, 70, a significant amount of the money that is spent on healthcare is spent in the last 6 months of their life, right? So is it self-insuring? I mean, you can try, but when you're talking about $7,400 a month, how long are you going to self-insure that? Right? Is it, what we look at with this is there any way we can implement long-term care?
Sure.
Right, into that plan. For some people, it's practical. For some people, it's not. It's an expensive proposition, right? But it's about plugging as many of those holes as possible that we can with the assets that we have to work with.
If you were to say to somebody, I have an investment here and you're going to lose $7,400 a month, nobody'd sign up for that. Not one person.
Yeah,
would sign up for
it might
that.
be a tough sell. Yeah.
So it is a huge concern of people. Number 5 on this list is that stock market. I know I've got to be in there. I know I need growth with my money. It still makes me uncomfortable because of the up and down that I've seen over my years. I've seen 2008. I've seen 2000. I've seen all of that. And I sure don't want that to happen in my retirement years. How much do I actually have to play in that sandbox?
It all depends on how your plan is set up, Randy.
Okay.
And that's what it all comes back to. This is why we really press that get me to retirement system that we go through with clients, and learning about them, learning about what they have to work with, what resources they have, their assets, 401k, pensions, whatever it might be, where they're trying to get to retirement, and then securing that as best as possible. It is unlikely that most people are going to be able to retire staying completely out of the stock market.
Right.
Right? It's unlikely. Could you do it? You can. Is it going to be a short retirement? Probably. Right? The idea really with the investment side is to get your plan set up so that the portion of your wealth we have to put at risk, because that's what's happening here, right? We're having to put it at risk to try and generate some sort of return. Is that whatever amount that we're putting away with that, we're not relying on it for our day-to-day income and retirement. We've taken care of that with Social Security, with income planning. So do we want to grow it? Of course we want to grow it. When the market goes down, there's a few things I can predict, almost nothing I can, right? But very, very few. I've talked about healthcare expenses going up. I said, I can guarantee that one.
Right.
The stock market's going to go down at some point.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't say tell you when. I just tell you it's going to go down at some point.
It goes up,
right?
it goes down, it goes sideways.
It's
all
going
it
to happen,
does.
right?
Yeah.
So what we want to have is we want to have that when that correction happens, our lifestyle, our income is not affected.
Got it.
Right? Have we taken a step back with that portion of our investment? Yeah, we have. It's the cost of doing business in the market. It's going to go up. It's going to go down, like you said. Does it trend up over time? That's what history tells us, right? But should that continue going forward? You would think so, right? Unless something dramatic happens. That's easy to say when you're not in the moment of watching your $1 million go down to 700,000.
Yeah.
Right? That's very easy for us to say that, right? Yeah. What makes it easier is if we have multiple streams of guaranteed income. Maybe you're lucky enough to have a pension through your job. You've got Social Security. You've done some income planning. So that 700,000, yeah, it stinks. But we're not drawing down on it. We're not making the situation worse while it's down. What we're doing here is we are situating our portfolio so that we give it the biggest advantage that any portfolio can have, and that's time. We're giving it time to recover, time to grow, because we have our other streams of income established.
It is an interesting dynamic, I guess you could say, is you have people in their 60s and you look at their portfolio and you say, well, you're investing like a 30-year-old. Well, you tell me I'm going to be in retirement for 20 or 25 years. I've got to have some kind of a long-term view of this. So I've got to have something at risk.
Absolutely.
You have to come to that determination of what you're comfortable with. And I think that's part of the get me to retirement process, is talking through that and figuring out how much do I want in that bucket and how much do I want in the other buckets.
And the reason this is such an important topic right now, Randy, is if we go back to 2008, no one wants to remember that time. All right. I think it was March of 2009, actually, the markets bottomed and started recovering. From that point until 2022, the market did nothing really but perform for you, right? I think there was one down year in there somewhere, and it was down by like 1% or 2%. Call it even, right? And we've got 15% returns, 20% returns. And you know what? Everyone got lulled into the sense of like, hey, the market does nothing but go up. This is awesome.
Financial amnesia.
This is going to be easy. I'll retire. And then 2022 hit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wait, what's going on? This isn't what the market's supposed to do. The S&P isn't supposed to go down 20%. The NASDAQ's not supposed to go down 33 or 35%, whatever. Well, this isn't supposed to happen. And it was an excellent time to review risk and what's really important to you.
Yeah.
Right? Because it is easy to get lulled into that, hey, we've been on a 12-year upswing?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it sets unrealistic expectations of returns.
Mm-hmm.
It sets unrealistic expectations of the risk that you are exposing yourself to. And 2022 was rough because it didn't matter if you were in bonds, you got hit hard.
Yep.
If you were in equities, you got hit hard as well.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you say, well, I'll put a bit in bonds so that it doesn't go down when my equities go down, and
Didn't work.
that didn't work that year.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
It was a great reset on the risk discussion. And should we set up our plan? I'll give you the answer. It's yes, right? Should we set up our plan so that we have streams of income coming in that either meet all or the majority of what we need to hit our financial planning goal for our income in retirement, which leaves us more leverage, more options to get more aggressive on the growth of our other assets.
We're going through a list today, the 5 big retirement risks. What if I live a long time? I got to make sure my money's going to outlast me, not me outlast my money. What if I get sick? What do you do about that? What about that market? How much do you want to be in? How much do you want to be out? And then the other 2 here that they have are family risk. And these are, as you talked about in the past, we have regular meetings. Things happen in the markets. Things happen in the economy. But things happen in your life. And I imagine you've seen this. You start with 2 people in the office, and all of a sudden, it's 1.
Absolutely. And that could be for a couple of different reasons, right? It's a divorce.
Yeah.
Did someone pass?
Yeah.
They're difficult times,
Yeah.
as you can imagine,
Yeah.
right? There's only so much planning you can do for this. But especially what you want to do is you when we do our plan, we want to try and plug every hole possible. And we've talked about it. It's the plan is a living document, really, right? We start off with a picture in time and we say, okay, now we implement it.
Yeah.
And things are going to change, and we got to figure out the best course of action to take with whatever it is that life throws us, right? We always want to plan, so for our clients, that the income that we're going to generate, that we're not relying on one spouse
Okay.
for that whole thing, right? Okay.
Because you lose a Social Security if one passes away.
You lose one, you get stepped up to the better of the 2, but
Right.
you're not getting both, right?
And now you're head of household, and now you're in a higher tax bracket.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Uncle Sam.
Yeah, nothing's going your way when that happens,
Golly.
right? Divorce can be a tough one,
Yeah.
right? My first advice would be don't get divorced. That's easier said than done sometimes,
Get a
right?
two-floor place, and you
Don't
live
get
upstairs,
divorced.
you go downstairs.
That would be the easiest route. Some people say, I don't care what it is. We're splitting.
I'm out.
Okay, so be it. Well, now we've got to look at the assets of one person, right? Can we still make the plan work with that change in wealth? Okay? Sometimes there's got to be lifestyle changes,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes there's just no way around it. I might say, hey, this is what your income looks like. How bad is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Would you prefer to stay married, right?
Right.
Yeah, I joke a little bit here, but one of, if not the biggest impacts to wealth is divorce.
Well, I brought, I'm not no genius here, but if I were to pass, I bought an insurance policy that would fill in the Social Security payment that my wife would lose. So that income comes back to her. And so that part of it wouldn't affect her. So that's part of the planning process that you can talk through.
Absolutely. And we talk high level often here, right? For a reason. You don't want to get too much in the weeds. And we say, well, you've got your 401k, you've got your pension, you've got your Social Security. How are we going to all make this work together? But it's insurance needs as well, just like you mentioned, right? If one partner passes away, and for almost everybody, that's going to be what happens.
Right.
Right? We talk about interesting things in the office with our clients. Well, we want to travel and kind of what happens to these assets we have if we both pass away at the same time, and we can address that, right? We're going to make sure that their loved ones, it's very unlikely,
Yeah.
right? The more likely situation is that one spouse passes before the other. And what happens to our income?
Yeah.
We're relying on the husband to generate 80%. We're relying on the wife to generate 70, 80%. And now someone's left destitute, right? I'm sure they wouldn't want that
Nope.
to have happened to their spouse. So we have to plan that, whether it's through life insurance, whether it's through joint lifetime income. There's several ways to manage around that. And this is part 2 of that. This is not everyone's story. But in most people's situation, when this happens, it's not going to be when they're 60. It's not going to be when they're 70. It's probably more like when they're in their 80s, right? Do you want your wife in a situation where she has to go and be the greeter at Walmart?
No.
No. Nor do I.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure she doesn't wish that for you.
Right.
Either. Right. So, yeah, there's the asset question. How do we invest? How do we handle market risk? How do we set up some guaranteed incomes? What's the best Social Security strategy? After all that's been put in place, it's also, okay, let's talk about something really pleasant. What happens if he dies?
Gosh.
What happens if she dies?
Some hard questions.
Absolutely.
They really are.
Right.
Last one on this list is policy risk, what they talk about, and that's government. There's been very few times when taxes have gone down. There have been an awful lot of things that have changed in Social Security. There's a lot of things that have changed in 401ks. So they continually change the rules on us. And this is why I think it's so important to have somebody who's going through this journey with you, because as the rules change, we have to change with them, don't we?
Absolutely. Pivoting ahead of that is very important. There's been a huge change recently in the last few years. And this would fall in the policy risk, I guess, category around RMDs, required minimum distributions.
Different ages,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So it used to be I think it was the specific language was the year in which you turn 70 and a half. And the reason I remember that specifically is I was born in June.
Okay.
So I turned 70 and a half the same year I turned 70, right? But if you're July, you're not turning,
Okay.
Why not add that language to just make it much more complicated?
The half
right?
thing just
of course
mystifies me.
Okay. So it used to be that would be when you had to start taking your RMDs. During COVID, that changed, right? So they're graduating. It could be 72. It could be 73. Eventually, it'll get to 75.
Right.
Sometimes people are taking out enough RMDs. That doesn't really matter. Kind of they just default hitting that RMD. Not everybody is. Right? A lot of our clients aren't. So now it's like, well, I can delay it another couple of years. That's great. Let's do that. Not staying on top of those changes, they wouldn't know that. Right? Social Security, I mean, probably the hottest potato of them all, right? Is I don't think a meeting goes by that we get to our process of kind of, going through the interview stage and seeing kind of what sort of assets people have to work with, and we come to Social Security. Well, should I even count on that?
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah. Well, as long as people are working, there should be Social Security of some type.
It's such a political topic, right? It's really not fair for the general public because it scares people, right? Because the truth is most people, Social Security will make up a fairly sizable percentage of the income that comes in. Now, for some people, is it going to be 30? Yeah, it's going to be on the lower side. For some people, is it going to be 70 or 80%? Yeah. There's some people that's all they've got. Right, is a Social Security. And this topic keeps coming. The date changes all the time. I think by now it was supposed to run out. And now it's 2033 or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Now, will there be some changes come up with that? Probably. Are they going to probably change the age that you can get it? Probably, right? Will it be for anybody who's real close to retirement right now? I doubt it.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah, we'll get grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Well, these are things that if you don't know what to ask a financial advisor, if you want to make an appointment with Jay and the team, these are some of the things you can talk about. What if I live a long time? What if I get sick? What about that market? What if something happens within my family? What if they change the rules? There's a lot of what ifs. Let's get them planned for you. We provide for you at no charge the Get Me to Retirement process. It's an interview with the guys. We'll sit down and talk about what you've done for retirement, what you want to do in retirement. We'll do the analysis for you. And then when you come back for that second meeting, we'll walk through all those recommendations and how we could help you make your retirement what you want it to be. Check us out online at clearskiesretirement.com. That's clearskiesretirement.com. And if you enjoyed this podcast and you want to hear more, hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Again, thanks for listening to the Clear Skies Retirement Podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jamin J. Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.